Let's get more insight on all of this with Yossi Mekelberg, a senior consulting fellow for the Middle East and North Africa programme at Chatham House, a think tank here in London. Thank you very much indeed. Welcome back, Yossi, to CGTN. First of all, I just want to ask you a bit about what Jonathan was just telling us about something moving, something appears to be happening towards a ceasefire, but all of this, of course, overshadowed by this potential trial of the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So in interesting developments during the Israel-Iran war, it created some space for 12 days for behind-the-scene negotiation, very much pushed by Qatar and the United States. And there is some progress on this front. But the question is whether Israel, Hamas, and then the region would agree to all the details. So one of them is, for instance, exiling Hamas leadership, ending the war. Well, we know that right-wing members within the Israeli coalition are against it. There is an aspect that the United States is actually pushing to allow Gazan that want to leave Gaza will be allowed to go to other countries, but what countries are ready to absorb them unless there are also program on the Palestinian issue as a whole, the Palestinian state. And as you rightly say, in the midst of all of it, we know that Netanyahu, first and foremost, look about his personal survival and making sure that his trial is postponed almost indefinitely.
And you mentioned the regional picture here. I just want to ask you about Qatar, which has positioned itself as a key mediator. How effective has Doha been in brokering talks, and what kind of leverage does it have?
I think it is interesting to look at the role of Qatar generally now in international negotiation, whether it's in Ukraine, in Africa, and in other places. And definitely it's the country that has influence on Hamas. It hosts some of the members or the leadership of Hamas, and it has the leverage as a result of it. Also, as a result of what happened with the war in Iran, the ties between the United States and Qatar actually been strengthened. Almost there was the theater of allowing Iran to attack a military base in Qatar as kind of the last firing shot in the war. So I think there is close coordination. Qatar is playing a very important role in that.
And just going back to the top part of our coverage concerning Rafael Grossi's comments about Iran's nuclear capabilities, that they may seem to be in a better shape than Israel and the US would have us think after their attacks on the country. Is that credible, do you think?
I think, he is the expert on the issue. He's been inspecting this and following this for years. It's a very interesting development because we get all sorts of contradictory, conflicting evidence. We had last week a report by the Pentagon that actually agrees with Mr. Grossi. The United States and Israel, Trump talked about the complete destruction of the nuclear program, definitely in Fordo. I think what we need to look is the hardcore evidence, what really happened, what's left of the centrifuges on the more than 400 kilograms of enriched uranium to up to 60%, and then we can make a long-term judgment whether the Iranian nuclear program has been degraded, or all these 12 days war, instead of including the United States dropping one of its most sophisticated weapons, was basically for nothing.
Well, many thanks indeed for sharing your thoughts with us today, Yossi. That's Yossi Mekelberg, a senior consulting fellow at Chatham House.